$43, the cashier said, staring at Nia Carter, a young black woman, as if she had just made the worst decision of her life. Her voice was low, but everyone gathered near the register heard it. Outside the glass doors, a black man in a rain-soaked coat stood beside the security guard, his ruined shoes hanging open at the soles. A few customers watched him with the careless curiosity people reserved for someone they had already decided didn't belong. Nia looked down at the money in her hand, then at the sensible black heels she had planned to buy for work. Her own shoes were splitting near the toes, and her manager had warned her that one more unprofessional appearance could cost her job. The $43 was all she had until payday, enough for bus fare, groceries, and maybe a payment toward the electric bill waiting on her kitchen table. Then the man outside shifted his weight, and Nia saw the raw red marks where the wet leather had rubbed against his feet. He did not beg. He did not knock on the door. He only stood there, holding himself with a dignity that made the laughter behind Nia sound even uglier. "Ma'am," the cashier said, tapping the shoebox, "these are men's size 11, and store policy says all sales are final." "I know," Nia replied. The guard opened the door just enough to tell the man he needed to leave the property. Before it closed, Nia caught his eyes. They were tired, guarded, and strangely calm. The eyes of someone used to being judged before he ever spoke. She remembered her mother's favorite saying, "You never know which moment will reveal who you really are." Nia pushed the black heels aside. "Ring up the men's shoes," she said. The cashier blinked. A woman in a designer coat gave a short laugh. "You're spending your last money on a stranger?" Nia felt the warning notice in her purse, the empty refrigerator at home, and tomorrow's bus ride pressing against her chest all at once. For one painful second, she almost changed her mind. Then she looked outside again. "Being broke doesn't make someone invisible," she said. She placed every dollar on the counter. The cashier counted it twice, slid the shoebox forward, and gave Nia 3 pennies in change. Nia carried the box to the door herself. When the guard stepped aside, she handed it to the stranger. For the first time, his expression broke. Not with relief, but with disbelief. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Nothing," Nia said, turning back toward the rain, but Marcus Reed had already memorized her company badge name. Nia stepped into the rain before Marcus could say another word. Within seconds, the shoulders of her thrift store blazer were soaked, and cold water slipped through the opening in her worn shoes. She reached into her purse for her transit card, tapped it against the reader at the bus stop, and watched the small screen flash red. Insufficient balance. The 3 pennies in her palm suddenly felt heavier than coins should. Her apartment was nearly 5 miles away. She could have gone back to the store and asked for help. But pride pulled her forward. So Nia began walking. Cars rushed past, spraying water across the sidewalk as thunder rolled over downtown Atlanta. Every step made the loose sole of her right shoe bend farther away from the leather. Still, she kept moving. She thought about the electric bill folded inside her purse. $42 would have kept the lights on for another week. She thought about the groceries she had planned to buy, the oatmeal, eggs, and canned soup that could have stretched until payday. Then she remembered Marcus standing outside that store, while people laughed, as though hardship were something contagious. She did not regret helping him. She only wished kindness did not always seem to come with a price. By the time Nia reached her apartment building, her feet ached, and the rain had softened to a cold drizzle. A bright orange notice was taped across her door. Final disconnection warning. Payment required by midnight. Nia closed her eyes. For several seconds, she stood completely still in the hallway, listening to a neighbor's television through the wall and the hum of electricity she might soon lose. Inside, her apartment was small, but carefully kept. She removed her wet clothes, changed into an old sweatshirt, and opened the refrigerator. 1 bottle of water, half a jar of peanut butter, and 2 slices of bread stared back at her. She made a sandwich, cut it in half, and saved 1 piece for breakfast. Then she opened her laptop at the kitchen table. Crown Line Logistics was losing money through delayed deliveries, duplicated routes, and careless scheduling decisions. For 3 weeks, Naya had been building a recovery plan after work, hoping Vanessa Grant would finally recognize her ability. Charts filled the screen. Numbers lined every page. Naya worked until her eyes burned, correcting 1 final formula just before the apartment suddenly went dark. The refrigerator stopped humming. The ceiling fan slowed, then became still. Naya sat in silence, illuminated only by her dying laptop screen. At 11:48, her phone vibrated. A message from Vanessa appeared. "Be in the office before 7 tomorrow morning. The new ownership team is reviewing our department, and if anything goes wrong, you are finished." Naya stared at the words as her laptop battery dropped to 3%. Across the city, Marcus Reed sat in the back seat of a black sport utility vehicle, staring at the inexpensive shoes on his feet, as if they carried a secret no one else could see. His executive assistant, Caleb Morgan, had brought him a clean coat, a replacement phone, and enough questions to fill the entire ride. Marcus answered none of them. He could still hear Nia's voice beneath the rain. Being broke does not make someone invisible. Those words unsettled him more than the robbery, the lost wallet, or the hours he had spent trying to reach his security team. Most people had looked at his torn clothes and decided his life had no value. Naya had looked at the same clothes and seen a man whose feet were hurting. She had not known his name. She had not recognized his face. She had not asked for repayment. She had simply handed him everything she had. Marcus turned the small store receipt over in his hand. Near the bottom, written in faded ink, was the final amount: $42.99. He remembered the cashier asking whether Nia was certain. He remembered the hesitation in her eyes, not because she doubted him, but because she understood exactly what the sacrifice would cost. Before she left, she had crouched near the bench and helped loosen the laces, because his right hand was wrapped in a temporary bandage. "They should fit," she had said softly. "Stand up and try them." Marcus had obeyed, surprised by the quiet authority in her voice. When he took his first step, the pressure against his sore feet eased. "Why are you doing this?" he had asked. Naya looked toward the customers, pretending not to watch. "Because everybody deserves to walk away with some dignity." Then she had offered him half of the sandwich from her purse. Marcus noticed there was no second meal inside, only a transit card and a folded electric notice. He refused the food, but the image stayed with him. Now, inside the vehicle, he looked at Caleb. "Find out everything you can about Nia Carter," Marcus said. Caleb glanced at the employee badge information Marcus had memorized. "She works at Crown Line Logistics?" "Yes." Caleb's expression changed. Crown Line was the struggling company Reed Meridian Holdings had quietly acquired 3 weeks earlier. The official announcement was scheduled for the next morning. "Do you think she knew who you were?" Caleb asked. Marcus shook his head. "No. That is why this matters." He looked through the rain-streaked window as Atlanta passed in blurred lights. "I want her employment record, her department reports, and every project carrying her name." Caleb began typing. A moment later, his screen filled with files. Then he frowned. "There is a problem." Marcus turned toward him. Caleb held up the tablet. "Nia Carter has submitted 6 major operational proposals this year, but none of them reached senior leadership." Marcus's eyes hardened. Who blocked them? Before Caleb could answer, the vehicle stopped beneath the lights of Reed Meridian headquarters, and 3 senior executives hurried toward the door. By 6:40 the next morning, Naya was already hurrying through downtown Atlanta with her laptop pressed against her chest and rainwater darkening the hem of her skirt. With no electricity at home and no money left on her transit card, she had woken before sunrise and walked nearly 5 miles to Crown Line Logistics. Her feet burned inside the same worn black shoes Vanessa had criticized the week before, but Nia kept moving. She reached the glass entrance at 7 minutes past 7. The lobby clock seemed louder than usual. Before she could catch her breath, Vanessa Grant stepped out of the elevator wearing a cream suit, polished heels, and the expression of someone who had been waiting for a mistake. 7 minutes late, Vanessa said. Several employees turned toward them. I walked here, Nia replied quietly. Vanessa looked down at Nia's damaged shoes. That explains the appearance, but it does not excuse it. A few nervous laughs came from the reception area. Nia felt heat rise into her face, yet she refused to lower her eyes. The recovery plan is finished, she said, holding up her laptop. I corrected the delivery projections and found a way to reduce duplicate routes by 18%. Vanessa's expression changed for less than a second. Then she reached for the computer. Send it to me. I would like to present it myself, Nia said. Silence fell. Vanessa stepped closer and lowered her voice, though everyone nearby could still hear. You would like many things, Nia. A promotion, better shoes, a seat at the executive table. Wanting something does not mean you belong there. Jordan Ellis rose from his desk. She built the entire model, he said. Vanessa turned sharply. No one asked you. Then she looked back at Nia. The new ownership team is reviewing this department today. One mistake could close these offices and cost hundreds of people their jobs. I am not allowing an entry-level analyst to embarrass us. Nia's fingers tightened around the laptop. My name should stay on the report. Vanessa smiled without warmth. Your name is not what gives an idea value. The person presenting it does. She took the laptop and walked toward her office. Nia followed, but Vanessa stopped at the doorway. Go fix the conference room. Coffee, water, printed packets. Make yourself useful. The door closed between them. Through the glass wall, Nia watched Vanessa open the presentation. She watched her remove Nia Carter from the title page and replace it with Vanessa Grant, Director of Operations. Jordan came to stand beside her. You cannot let her do this again, he whispered. Nia looked at the screen as every trace of her work disappeared. Then all the monitors across the office flashed at once. A company announcement filled the displays. The new chief executive officer would arrive at noon, and Vanessa had just taken credit for the one plan he was coming to see. At 9:30, Vanessa entered the executive conference room carrying Nia's presentation as though she had created every chart herself. Behind the glass wall, Nia arranged bottled water and coffee, while senior leaders took their seats around the long walnut table. Malcolm Hayes, Crown Line's 58-year-old board chairman, sat at the head with 2 representatives from Reed Meridian Holdings beside him. Nia recognized neither of them. The chair reserved for the new chief executive officer remained empty. Vanessa connected the laptop and began speaking with polished confidence. She described the delivery failures, the duplicated routes, and the customer complaints that had cost Crown Line millions of dollars. Then she presented Nia's solution. The room changed immediately. Executives who had been checking their phones leaned forward. Malcolm removed his glasses and studied the projections more closely. An 18% reduction in unnecessary mileage, he asked. Conservative estimate, Vanessa replied. Nia stood outside the room, holding an empty coffee tray and listening through the partially open door. Every sentence Vanessa spoke had come from nights Nia spent working at her kitchen table. Every number had been tested by Nia. Every risk had been calculated by Nia. Yet Vanessa never mentioned her name. One of the Reed Meridian representatives pointed toward the final slide. Who designed the regional routing model? Vanessa hesitated for half a second. My department developed it under my direction. Malcolm looked impressed. The incoming chief executive officer reviewed an earlier summary this morning. He specifically requested to meet the person responsible. Hope rose inside Naya so suddenly that she nearly forgot how exhausted she was. This was it. One honest question could uncover everything. Jordan, standing near the copy room, caught her eye and gave her a small nod. Naya set down the tray and walked toward the conference room. Vanessa saw her through the glass. Her smile tightened. I can bring the analyst who built the model, Vanessa said quickly. Malcolm nodded. Please do. He wants a complete explanation before the noon announcement. Vanessa stepped into the hallway and closed the conference room door behind her. Naya stood ready with her notes pressed against her chest. They asked for the person who built the model, Naya said. That is me. Vanessa's expression remained calm, but her eyes turned cold. They asked for someone who can represent this department. I can explain every line. That is exactly what worries me. Nia moved toward the door, but Vanessa placed one hand against it. You are not walking into that room looking like this. Her gaze dropped to Nia's damaged shoes. Go back to your desk. You cannot keep taking my work. Vanessa leaned closer. Watch me. Then she opened the door just wide enough to return inside and locked it behind her. Through the glass, Nia watched Vanessa point to the routing model while Malcolm smiled. A moment later, Malcolm picked up his phone. The chief executive officer is on his way upstairs, he announced, and Vanessa had no idea he already knew Nia Carter's name. The elevator bell sounded, and every conversation in the office stopped. Vanessa straightened her jacket while Malcolm Hayes and the senior executives turned toward the hallway. Nia remained beside the conference room door, her heart pounding. At last, the person with enough authority to ask one honest question was about to arrive. But when the elevator opened, only Caleb Morgan stepped out. He carried a tablet and spoke quietly to Malcolm. The new chief executive officer had been redirected to a private meeting upstairs and would make his formal appearance at noon. Relief crossed Vanessa's face before she quickly hid it. She still had time. Malcolm asked her to prepare printed copies of the routing plan for the entire board. Vanessa turned toward Nia and handed her the files. You heard him, she said. Make 40 copies, organize them, and do not touch the presentation again. Nia looked through the glass at the executives praising work that had cost her weeks of sleep. You told them you created it. Vanessa gave a quiet laugh. I told them my department created it. You work in my department. That is not the same thing. It is the only version that matters. Vanessa lowered her voice. You should be grateful your work reached the board at all. Jordan watched from across the office, anger clear in his expression, but Nia shook her head. She could not afford another confrontation. Not today. As she walked toward the copy room, her phone began vibrating. The number belonged to the electric company. Nia answered and listened as a representative confirmed that service at her apartment had been disconnected. Full payment, including a reconnection fee, would be required before the lights could return. Nia thanked the woman, ended the call, and stood silently beside the printer. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry where anyone could see. 2 co-workers entered behind her, discussing the story Jordan had mentioned earlier. Is it true you spent your last money buying shoes for some homeless stranger? One asked. Nia continued sorting pages. He needed them. The second co-worker laughed. You walked 5 miles because you gave away your bus money. Leave her alone, Jordan said from the doorway. Vanessa appeared behind him. No, this is an important lesson. She looked directly at Nia. Kindness doesn't pay the rent. Talent doesn't matter if nobody important knows your name. And sacrifice is only admirable when you can afford it. The printer stopped. Naya gathered the pages with trembling hands. For the first time, she wondered whether being good had only made her easier to use. When she returned to her desk, a plain white envelope rested on her keyboard. There was no name, no company seal, and no explanation. Inside was the receipt for the $42 shoes, along with 6 handwritten words. "Keep this. Tomorrow, they will understand." Nia read the message twice. "Keep this. Tomorrow, they will understand." The handwriting was clean and deliberate, nothing like the rushed notes left by coworkers. Her eyes moved to the receipt. The date, time, and amount matched the purchase from the night before. Only one person could have returned it: Marcus. But how had he entered a secured office building, and why had he written tomorrow when the new chief executive officer was already expected that day? Jordan leaned over the divider. "What is that?" Naya folded the note quickly. "Nothing." She hated lying to him, but something about the message felt private. Across the floor, employees rushed to prepare for the ownership announcement. Fresh flowers appeared in the lobby. Security officers checked guest lists. Senior managers practiced introductions, as if the right handshake might protect their jobs. Nia slipped the receipt into her purse and opened the internal security system. Her access level allowed her to review lobby footage when researching delivery disputes. She searched the previous evening, expecting to see nothing. Instead, she found a recording from 11:19. A black sport utility vehicle had stopped outside the building. Caleb Morgan stepped out, entered through the executive entrance, and handed a white envelope to the night receptionist. Naya had seen him arrive that morning with the Reed Meridian team. Her breath caught. Why would a senior executive deliver something from Marcus? She rewound the video and studied the vehicle. It matched the one she had seen through the rain after leaving the shoe store. Before she could look closer, a notification appeared on her screen. Access revoked. Vanessa stood several desks away with her tablet raised. "Company surveillance is not for personal entertainment," she said. Naya closed the window. "I was checking a delivery issue." "You were searching restricted footage during an ownership review." Vanessa walked closer. "That sounds like a serious judgment problem." Naya knew better than to answer. Around them, rumors spread quickly. Some employees claimed the incoming chief executive officer was an elderly investor from New York. Others said he was a ruthless private equity executive who had already chosen which departments to eliminate. No official photograph appeared in the announcement. Reed Meridian had released only a name: Marcus Reed. Naya went still. She opened the company biography, but the profile image had been removed ahead of the press conference. The text described a 35-year-old founder known for avoiding publicity, acquiring struggling companies, and rebuilding them from the inside. The Marcus she had met wore torn clothes and stood outside a discount shoe store. This Marcus controlled a multi-billion-dollar corporation. The connection seemed impossible. Yet the black vehicle, Caleb's envelope, and the warning in her purse refused to disappear. At 11:45, the lobby doors were locked for the arrival. Vanessa ordered everyone into position. Naya looked toward the elevators as a private security team entered first. Then Malcolm Hayes received a message, straightened his tie, and announced, "He is in the building." The moment Malcolm announced that the new chief executive officer was inside the building, every manager in the lobby straightened, as if their careers depended on perfect posture. Before anyone could move, a sharp alert sounded from the operations floor. One of Crown Line's largest retail clients had rejected an entire regional shipment plan and threatened to cancel a contract worth more than $12 million a year. The message was clear. Crown Line had 60 minutes to correct the routing failure or lose the account. Vanessa's face changed instantly. She hurried back to the conference room, opened the logistics dashboard, and began issuing instructions that contradicted one another. Drivers were assigned to routes that were already full. Distribution centers received duplicate orders. A warehouse outside Birmingham was told to release inventory that had not yet arrived. Naya watched the confusion spread across the screens. She knew exactly what had happened. The old scheduling system had created a loop between 3 regional hubs, the same flaw she had identified in her report. "The network is repeating the Atlanta route through Birmingham and Nashville," Naya said. Vanessa did not look at her. "Stay out of this. If you keep sending manual corrections, the system will duplicate them." "I said stay out of it." Malcolm entered the room with Caleb beside him. "We have 48 minutes, Malcolm said. "The client wants a live recovery plan." Vanessa tried to smile. "We have it under control." At that moment, another alert appeared. The projected delay had increased to 36 hours. Malcolm's expression hardened. Vanessa finally turned toward Nia. "Fix it." The words were quiet, almost invisible beneath the panic around them. Nia stared at her. "You told me I was not qualified to enter this room." Vanessa stepped closer. "Do not make this personal." Nia looked at the frightened dispatchers, the drivers waiting for instructions, and the employees who could lose their jobs if the contract disappeared. She set her laptop on the table. "Give me full routing access and connect the client to this room." For the next 20 minutes, Nia rebuilt the regional sequence using the model she had created at home. She redirected 2 shipments through a smaller hub in Chattanooga, removed the duplicate miles, and created a delivery window the client could accept. Her voice remained calm while everyone else watched the clock. When the client joined the call, Nia explained every decision clearly. The executive on the other end paused, then said, "That is the first workable solution we have heard all morning. We will keep the contract, but I want the name of the person who designed this recovery." Before Vanessa could answer, Nia said, "Nia Carter." The call had been recorded automatically. Hope rushed through her. This time, proof existed. This time, Vanessa could not erase her. Then Nia looked toward the system archive and saw the recording disappear from the server. Nia stared at the empty space where the recording had been. For 1 second, the entire room seemed to go silent around her. Then Vanessa closed the system window and turned toward Malcolm with practiced calm. "There appears to have been unauthorized access to the client archive," she said. Nia looked at her in disbelief. "You deleted the recording." Vanessa did not blink. "That is a serious accusation." Caleb studied both women, but before he could speak, Derek Moore, the head of security, entered carrying a printed report. Vanessa took it from him and handed it to Malcolm. "Our system flagged Nia's account for downloading confidential customer files last night," she said. Nia felt the floor disappear beneath her. "That is not true. I was at home." Vanessa folded her arms. "Your credentials were used. Someone else had access. Only you are responsible for your password." Jordan stepped forward. "She just saved the contract." Vanessa turned toward him. "And now we know why she understood the system so well." The accusation spread through the room faster than the truth ever had. Nia looked at Malcolm, hoping he would remember what the client had said. But Malcolm was already being pulled toward another executive emergency. Caleb received a message on his tablet and glanced toward the private elevators. "The ownership announcement begins in 10 minutes, he said. Vanessa seized the moment. "We cannot allow a security risk near the new chief executive officer." She faced Derek. "Remove her access and escort her out." Nia's badge stopped working before she reached her desk. Her computer screen went black. Around the office, people avoided her eyes. Jordan helped place her few belongings into a small cardboard box, a framed photograph of her mother, 2 notebooks, a coffee mug with a faded gold star. The recovery plan she had written was still open on Vanessa's laptop, but Nia was leaving with nothing except the shame Vanessa had created for her. "This is wrong," Jordan whispered. the truth will come out. Naya wanted to believe him. Instead, she placed the white envelope and the shoe receipt inside her purse. As Derek guided her toward the lobby, employees gathered for the announcement. Vanessa followed closely, making certain everyone saw Naya being removed. "Consider this a lesson," she said. "Good intentions do not protect bad judgment." Naya stopped near the glass doors. "You know I did not steal anything." Vanessa smiled softly. Knowing and proving are different things. Naya's hand tightened around the cardboard box. The receipt slipped from her purse and landed on the polished floor. Before she could bend down, Vanessa stepped forward and pressed one spotless heel over it. "Leave it," she said. "It is only a receipt." Then headlights flooded the lobby. A line of black sport utility vehicles pulled to the curb outside. Security officers opened the entrance. Senior executives stood. Malcolm straightened his jacket. And as the first passenger stepped from the lead vehicle, Naya saw the same inexpensive shoes she had bought the night before.